Good evening, everyone. I'm actually pre-recording this class tonight, so that won't matter until right up the last 10 minutes or so when we usually ask for questions. There will not be that opportunity tonight. But if any of you have any questions about this particular topic, or anything for that matter, please just write them down and we'll take a look at them in 2 weeks. It's just dawning on me as I say that very often in the moment there aren't questions, but maybe we'll stop halfway through this little book and have one of our evenings be just strictly a question and answer class. They're always fun, and once we get rolling, there usually are a lot more questions. So for tonight, write them down, then I'll see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll be able to answer them, and perhaps we'll make a question and answer session. So let's begin our evening with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru Deva, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow before you all. Divine Mother, great masters, help us to realize with greater and greater clarity that nothing other than our relationship with you is real in this world. Help us to remember situations are always neutral, and that we have within us the power in every moment to choose to be happy or to be sad, to react to any given situation or to find calmness deep within. Help us to live in tune always with spiritual principles behind all that is happening in this world, thereby remembering that this life is an illusion and that our oneness and connection with Thee is what is real. Om, peace. Amen. Today Let's meditate together now for a few minutes, keeping our awareness at the point between the eyebrows, diving deep quickly, asking God to reveal Himself in this very moment.
Though green summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempests, through snows, through turbulent tides, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only Thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only Thee, your love and your joy. The dances will pass, the singing must chant. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend.
Talking about hurt feelings. Very interesting topic, and in some ways more personal than what we've been talking about. When we talk about hurt feelings, automatically we think of what someone else has done to us and our reaction to that. Very different than talking about something that comes from within us. And again, if I don't even remember now all of the emotions that we've talked about, but if we've talked about anxiety and depression and discouragement, there's not usually some other actor in there, if you will, given that this is all a play. So it's an interesting topic, actually. Swamiji actually gave it 2 weeks in his book again, and a few days ago when we decided to record this, I thought we'd just definitely do 1 week on it. But I can see that some of the spiritual principles that we'll want to touch on, it may not all happen tonight. So it may well be that we'll come back and we'll do week 2. And once again, last week I think I took the first 15 minutes, or 2 weeks ago, of the talk to talk about the music. But as I've said to you many times, I'm finding the teachings in this book subtle, but then the core of our teachings. So I have to look for it. So many times when we're talking about something, I'm aware that I've said this to you before, magnetism, energy, affirmations, so many of the core things that we talk about, no matter what the title of the sermon or the talk is. It's very easy to look those things up in a record of that contains all of Swamiji's and Master's writings. But it's not easy to do that. I could not search in that way for hurt feelings. So I just find things, I would say, like hurt or about feelings, and then meditate a little, and then read more about feelings and meditate a little more. And what I find is that the topic comes together and it really begins to make sense for me. But it's a stretch. It's been very fascinating for me because it's not like Swamiji wrote a paper on when your feelings get hurt. He didn't do that. He didn't write a chapter on that or call a talk that. So there's a subtlety here. And I feel that in the music because when this song that Sai Ganesh just sang really says, when everything else fades, when everything else is gone, it's you that I'll have. It's you that I'll turn to. And he says it in a very direct way. I'm not going to repeat all of the words right now, but even at the very end, when he says, the dancers will pass, the singing must end, I'll welcome the darkness with you as my friend. And he's saying to us that no matter what the world looks like, this great big world of delusion and illusion that we live in, the truth is that it's all about us inwardly and the divine. It sounds so obvious. We could say, of course, we know that. Even if, if somebody's been on this path for a year, they would say, we know that. We do know that. But we know it intellectually. To really know it, and that's why this topic of hurt feelings, this is a stretch for all of us, because we can know it's about us and it's about God, and that what's out there is delusion. But when a friend comes and does something that's very hurtful, when you're in an argument with your partner, and although they may not be trying to be mean, and this happens with friends a lot too, but because of our karma, because of the way that we carry those vrittis on the outside, how easy it is for somebody to just press that button and hurt us. It was not their intention to hurt us. They're engaged in an argument with us. They disagree, they want to teach us a lesson, they want to show us how things are, but it comes right inside and it hurts. And the ouch comes often. I'm choosing my words carefully, I think because of the subtlety about this that I'm feeling. But however it is that we say ouch, which is very often, more often than most of us would like it to be, we do that by fighting back. We do that by getting the person back, either by saying something mean or by carrying a grudge and avoiding them. Very common for people to do that, or to decide that we're not going to talk about it. And, just by pulling ourselves in, the way so many animals can, the way a turtle does, or the way little kids, Swamiji said in something he wrote, when their feelings have been hurt or they want to hide, they hide under a blanket. We do that too at times. We get upset, we go into our room, we cover ourselves up, and we aren't just getting warm. We pull that blanket up over our head. We're hiding from what we're feeling or from the source that just hurt us. It's very easy to forget that this is a choice that we can make. When Swamiji, or Master Yogananda, actually said, if you want to be happy, nothing and no one in the world can make you unhappy. And if you want to be sad, nothing and no one in the world can make you happy. And it's absolutely true. I've watched people struggle to hold on to their pain. And I've also watched and now known people who know that they have the choice to choose happiness. But most of us don't do that all of the time. Most of us become very reactive in the world, as if something outside of us can have that effect on us, as if something outside of us has that power over us. So when I say the subtlety of the song, which is, though green summer fades and winter draws near, my Lord, in your presence, I live without fear. It's so deep and beautiful and heart-opening and truth-giving, that song. It just speaks to exactly what we need to learn about what is it that's really going on, number one, when we say, you hurt me, or somebody hurt my feelings. What does that even mean? They hurt my feelings. Usually it means that whatever's happened, that we've allowed a wave of emotion to roll into action and to take charge of our lives. That's really what it means. I want to stop for a minute, as I always do. We'll come back to that, of course. But I want to stop for a minute, and I want to read to you, again, 2 weeks, both weeks, on what Swamiji said about hurt feelings. For week 1, he said, the secret of overcoming hurt feelings is to expect nothing of others. Thus, their words and actions will always find you inwardly at peace. Can you imagine? That is so difficult. I'm going to read, I'll read it again, then we'll recount one story from the autobiography that just came in, very well-known story, and just where you're in amazement when you read it. Swamiji says, the secret of overcoming hurt feelings is to expect nothing of others. Thus, their words and actions will always find you inwardly at peace. We all remember the story from the autobiography of a yogi. I wish I had it here because the words are so beautiful that Yogananda chooses to describe his reaction to this. They're truly masterful. It's 1 or 2 words, but there's a lot of humor in it also. He wants to have an experience of samadhi, and he's living with Sri Yukteswar. He's living with an avatar who in any given moment could give any of us an experience of samadhi, no matter where we are on the path. Never mind, the master himself was born as an avatar. But this little play, this little story is going on, as many stories do in these great saints' lives, so that we can learn. And he says to Sri Yukteswar a couple of times, I think I need to go into the mountains to find the saint that can give me that experience. I think I need to go on a trek into the Himalayas. And Sri Yukteswar just doesn't answer. And Master says it in a way much more humorful than I can remember. He said, of course, I decided to take his silence for agreement. So he packs up his things, he goes away. There's a whole wonderful story about how he's misled, because he's misled himself. But he has all of these experiences until he meets a great saint who says to him, you have your guru at home, and it's your guru's right, job, purpose to give you this experience when he knows it's time for you. So Yogananda comes back and he's feeling very ashamed of himself, sort of very much like the prodigal son story, in fact, Sri Yukteswar just greets him like nothing happened. Oh, you're home, wonderful, let's make a meal, I think he says. And Yogananda says to him, aren't you angry with me? I mean, he just walked out of all of his duties in the ashram. Think of it. If you were in the middle of running a big show like that, it wasn't a show to Sri Yukteswar, but there were jobs, there was work that had to be done. And Yogananda just walked away, and he walked away from God himself with his delusion that he had to go find that somewhere else. But Sri Yukteswar says to him, I never expected anything of you. How could I be angry with you if I have no, not sure that expectations is his word, but it's like that. I'm not sitting here expecting you to behave in any particular way. So how could I be disappointed? It's sort of, you can feel it in the story. You left, you did what you need to do, now you're back, let's go, let's eat. I mean, it's really where it is. Like it didn't even faze him. And that's a very powerful story, but it is exactly what Swamiji's saying. If we don't expect anything of anyone, if we do not expect people to behave certain ways, to treat us in certain ways, to react to us in certain ways, how could we be disappointed in them? Or how could we have our feelings hurt? We couldn't. And I don't know about any of you, but first let me, what's it called? I can't draw it up to mind, but first let me say right out loud for the whole world to hear, I have not perfected this. And that means many times in my life, either my feelings get hurt or I have a judgment about how somebody's behaved, much more often than I would like it to be. Having said that, I will also say that I've practiced this consciously, thoughtfully, for many years, and way more often than would have been the case 2 years ago, then 5 years ago, then 10 years ago. People can behave in ways that would, or say things to me that would have been deeply upsetting not that long ago, as the lifetime goes. And often, I don't even notice it. Maybe later in reflection I might, sometimes it just goes by, or I notice it, but there's no emotional reaction. Just this practice, I was thinking when I was reading this of the book that was written decades ago now, so maybe many of you have never even heard of it, but the book was called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And very clever topic, actually, really speaking to this same thing and speaking about how deeply affected most of us let ourselves be by how other people feel about us or their opinions of us or what they say to us. And then the sadness in all of that is that if we react to it, we get angry or bitter or vengeful or whatever. There's so many words that we could put in there, judgmental, that are not a feeling or reaction that leaves us at peace, then really we suffer twice. Master says in his, or maybe this is Swamiji who says this, he said, to accept a hurt from anyone is to suffer twice. And it's just so true. To accept a hurt, that's the important phrase there. Accept a hurt means that we let other people's feelings, their words, their actions, their thoughts, their judgments affect us, and we suffer. And then if we react, we suffer twice. When we treat people badly, every time, 100% of the time, we suffer more than they do. 100% of the time. That is really the truth. I don't know if it's more than they do. Swamiji had an interesting dream once. Let me see if I can remember it. It's exactly about this. In the dream, there was another character, a friend or somebody. And the friend was often criticizing him. And Swamiji would often feel, now again, this is all a dream that he had, that he was going to react to that person. And this went on. The dream was like fast forwarding through his life. And then in his dream, so this was like a battle. He said, I said, he said, you said, he said. I mean, just constant battle like this of hurtful behavior and a reaction to it. And in the dream, Swamiji came close, he could see he was getting close to dying. And then it dawned on him, if I keep doing this and I die and leave this body, having reacted and reacted and reacted, and he reacted and I reacted, we're going to come back in the next life together. And we're going to come back with this reaction in place, with its own magnetism, because it does everything, it's magnetism. Everything's energy, everything is magnetism. And Swamiji said in the dream he saw lifetimes going by where he and the soul had to reincarnate together because neither one of them could stop this cycle. And he said it just, in the dream, he saw how horrible that would be. And you could feel it when I've read that story somewhere, I don't know where, but a couple of times. It just, as Swamiji tells it, and he's walking you through one lifetime and then another, your heart starts hurting. You just feel so contracted in there. It's a terrible feeling. I mean, I don't know if it's coming across as I tell the story, but when Swamiji tells the story, it does. And it's just like that. And he said he realized he had to be the one to get totally clear that whatever that other person, that other soul was trying to bring to him by way of criticism or demeaning behavior or spiteful behavior or the other person's judgment about him, it had nothing to do with him. It wasn't real. He didn't have to take it on in any way. And as soon as he didn't, and as soon as he could feel that peace, as soon as he could open his heart, and in that very moment feel love for that being, the dream ended. And Swamiji awakened knowing that all of those lifetimes of suffering would not have to happen now. It's in a moment, every time that we remember to expect nothing of others, such that their words and actions always find us inwardly at peace. We, let me just think of the word. I just have to explain it. There's one word that would cut through all of this. But we absolutely break any power that they have over us. We just stop it. And when you do that, then you begin to realize how often that's true in the world. When we stop a reaction, there's another story that Swamiji tells, or told very often he was in a car with a group of people and they were headed to they were going to go skiing somewhere from Ananda village, close up in the mountains. And he was behind a Greyhound bus and the roads were really slick, and he put his foot on the brake and the car just rolled right into the bus. He said it was quite amazing because the car was completely totaled and they could not find a scratch on the bus. So Swamiji just looked at everybody and he said, let's just get on the bus. The bus was going to some ski resort. So they just got the car off the road, somewhere left it, somewhere safe, it was totaled, got their ski equipment and got on the bus and went skiing and had a great time. Now, that's a wonderful story. We could say, oh, that's so wonderful, and it is, but there's such an amazing lesson in there. The bus driver and the people on the bus were amazed. And they kept saying to Swamiji, how could you do that? How could you just let the car go? And Swamiji said, I could worry about it now and lose my ski trip and worry about getting the car and getting it to wherever you have to tow a car where it's totaled and have that energy with me all day. Or I could go skiing and have fun and not worry about it and come back and deal with the car, having had a great day or two skiing. It's so right. Again, it just sounds so simple when we hear it, but it's in this whole lesson. That, of course, was not somebody hurting our feelings, which was the case in his dream. But in a way, it doesn't matter. The lesson in it is the same. The lesson is to not be so affected by what's going on outside of ourselves. And I will tell you, it's easier when it's your car than when it's your heart. So if we start practicing with little things and not being so profoundly impacted by them, then when people come and really hurt us, say things that could be hurtful, of course, when they hurt us, it's all about our ego. It's just plainly and simply about our ego. And again, as hard as it is to lose a car or any other material possession, nothing hurts as much as it does when it rubs against your ego. Nothing. In a way, that's the purpose of the ego. It helps us refine ourselves in that way. We get to make a choice in every one of those moments. Who's going to rule here? Is that egoic nature of mine going to rule, or can I rise above this right here, right now, and choose a raised consciousness? Can I decide to raise my consciousness and remember who I am? And every time we do it, we get better at it and we gain strength. Every time we gain spiritual strength. You know, when something comes to us that's difficult, like this, something where somebody would hurt us, the sooner we raise our energy, of course, I'll just use this word, this isn't in a way right, but the higher we can get our energy, the more we gain from it. In the long run being our soul's journey. Because none of this is really about something as simple. You think I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. I'm choosing my words carefully, as having our feelings hurt. There's nothing that is nowhere near as important as choosing to use every experience in our life to raise and expand our consciousness and to make spiritual progress. And the sooner we confront an issue, the more challenging it is, the bigger it is. So if we wait 2 weeks till that experience is hardly a memory, and we say, okay, I can put it down. Maybe you can. Often we don't. We carry it with us. Becomes part of the next vritti, the next life, if we let it go too long. But when you say that, or 2 weeks later you say, I'm not going to let that bother me, it sort of feels that way. But in the moment, if you can collect yourself and say, now wait a minute, what they think of me really is either they're wrong, so we can say it's none of my business and I'm not here to teach them, or they're right. And if they're saying something that's right, then in a way we could just celebrate. We could say to ourselves, they have a point. What can I learn from this? What can I take away? Instead of letting the ego be over here yelling, don't let them say that. Don't let them hurt you like that. What right do they have? What do they know? Sometimes they happen to know something. Whether they said it in the best way, whether you felt like you wanted to hear it then, maybe it was inappropriate of them to speak that truth at that moment, let that be their karma. Because remember, truth should never leave anybody feeling badly. So if somebody's come and dumped something on you like that, let them wrestle with it. But if you can, in that moment, it takes huge courage. It really does. It takes incredibly right attitude, which is so much of the spiritual path, to be able to say to yourself, either that's not true. What they're saying just isn't true, but calmly, not reactively, but consciously, with raised energy. I keep saying it because the instinct for human beings is to let our energy drop and to fight. I mean that. It's so common that when you listen to many psychologists, particularly when I was young, and I can't remember now what that whole period was called in the world of psychology, but a lot of it was about encounter groups and fighting and learning how to take care of yourself. See my fists? Like that. That's what was happening. And I think a lot of people learned a lot. Honestly, this is where you have to get your ego strong before you can move away from it. You really do. So the ego, remember, is our friend to a certain point, and then it's our enemy. And it's exactly what's going on here when somebody goes to hurt us. When we're strong enough, then our energy comes up. Sometimes I say to people, is that how you see it? And they say, yeah. And I'll say, okay, either nothing or I'll think about it, because maybe I will think about it. Maybe there is something, but none of it's reactive. And all of it takes a straight spine and energy flowing upward in a positive, in a soulfully positive direction. And I just want to come back to the point. The sooner we meet that problem, that difficulty, that obstacle, anything, but again, we're talking about hurt feelings right now, the more we raise our energy, the more we move towards expanded consciousness, the more progress we make on our own spiritual path. So we want to practice doing that as early as we can. And here's what I would say. The next time your feelings are hurt, ask yourself, get ready for it, and ask yourself, can I, in this moment, not react. If I want to come back and have a fight, you can come back and have a fight. If you want to beat that person up, you can always do it. If you want to be mean, you can always be mean, spiteful. You don't have to do it in the moment. You'll lose more if you react negatively. That has magnetism. That takes you, as I was just saying, in the moment when energy's running high, if you let it take you down, it takes you very down. So just say to yourself, could I save this for a while and not react? Why do I have to feel anything right now? Let me practice calmness right now. Let me change my attitude about this reflex of reacting, or my heart wanting to cry, which is an emotion. It has nothing to do with our spiritual path in a positive way, anyway. Let me try and practice collecting myself. And if you can't think of anything else to say to this other person, you just say, you know, I need to sit with this for a bit. I'm going to sit with this for a bit. It always takes two people to have a fight. If one person's out there swinging and you're not around swinging back, guess what? There's no fight. They're swinging in the air. Practice, even if you're crying inside, even if you feel, I've been so hurt, don't do that. Become an actor and let yourself try to look at it with a different attitude. Look at it with a different focus. Try and open your heart right in the moment when it feels the most hurt. Open your heart. Remember those incredible words of masters. Nobody can make you feel sad if you don't want to feel sad. And if you react, as Swamiji said, you're just suffering twice. And where does that take us? We're all here to grow spiritually. We have to let ourselves choose conscious moments and work hard at, I don't want to say reacting because it's not it, but choose a different level of consciousness right in the moment when it's the most difficult. So we are, in fact, running out of time today. Now I see I can make this 3 weeks, and actually I just may. Let's see what happens 2 weeks from now. We didn't even read about the second week, and I'll hold that. But there's so much richness here, all of it running through my mind. So we'll just stop for tonight. If you have any questions, hold them, and I'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks live.